crap. You're not modulating. I'll start the music, and you're not self-modulating. And I will, opening, go.
It's Wednesday evening. You're listening to Mystic Moon Cafe with Wendy Schindler and Travis Short. Every week, we will interview guests that are experts in various fields of the supernatural, paranormal, unexplained, and esoteric. So sit back and let us take you on a journey to educate, enlighten, and entertain as we broaden your horizons. Now, here's your hosts, Wendy Schindler and Travis Short.
I'm going to assume I've got you on, Travis.
I'm
I'm
here.
playing the
Yes,
music
I'm
now.
here. Am I modulating?
Yep, you're modulating.
Okay. My Skype just popped up. It said my microphone is really quiet. I'm not sure why. Can you hear me okay?
Yep,
That's interesting.
music is playing.
Okay, cool. How has your day been?
And that was Bo and Lucy, Fire Dancer. Um, Thought it kind of fitting with our guest this evening. It has to do with UFOs, aliens, and all of that fun stuff. Hi, I'm Wendy. I believe I've got Travis on the line here somewhere.
Hey, I'm Travis. I am here.
You are here. You're even modulating.
And that was who were the performers on that particular song? Did you say Bo and
Lucy.
Lucy?
Mm-hmm.
I thought you were going to say Bo
plus Luci. Apparently they're sisters out of Georgia.
Bo and Lucy Hazard. I know, yeah, from the Dukes of Hazzard. Yeah, I remember them well.
I think that might have just been Luke, but we'll go with Lucy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get a little confused about those things. I
Well,
really do.
there's so much information in our heads. It's hard to keep it all
I
sorted
tell you what.
sometimes. Hmm.
How you doing this week?
I'm floating on through. You know how it goes.
Oh, I do. I do. I'm floating on that same river with you.
Woohoo! River of
Oh,
despair.
that one, River of Denial. Just all kinds of things. Just not cool. Not cool at all. But
Not remotely.
we sail on.
Yes.
So
Yes, we do.
float on. We float on, rather, I guess. Definitely
I'm afraid
floaters.
of what that might make us, but that's okay.
Trust me, I understand. I really do. We got a great show tonight, like always. We're going to be talking to our guest here in just a moment. We'll do a little intro on them.
Absolutely.
But now next week we're going to have some of your comrades back on.
Well,
correct?
Just one, and I don't know about a comrade, but he's an author that I'm really enjoying his works. His name is Eric.
That's
R.
what I'm.
Asher.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he does the Vesic series, and that could be Visic, might be Vesic. I honestly couldn't tell you for sure.
I think Vesic is correct on the pronunciation. I looked it up. I think you're right.
Okay, good. The books are a lot of fun. I know he's done some steampunk as well, and working on another series of, I believe, ties into the Vesic series. I just haven't gotten into reading it yet. Oh, that one's not published yet, so I will wait on that one.
Okay.
But I'm excited. He works out of St. Louis and St. Charles, Missouri, and my people are from there, and I kind of know the areas, so it's fun.
Okay. And we're still working on some other guests in April, hoping one of the Wednesday nights in April to have Nick Redfern back on to talk about his new book that was just released, which you and I are supposed to be getting copies of, so yay us.
Whee!
Cammie Anderson and Richard Estep from The Haunting of Asylum 49 going to try to get back on with us. I think, what did I tell you, April 19th was a tentative for them?
Yes, I believe so. Yes, you did tell me that.
I think it was April 19th, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Going to try to have Bill Bean back on. Bill was our first guest when we relaunched the program. We had some technical difficulties that night, so we're going to have Bill to come back on. When he slows down, he is jet-setting all over the country again, performing his exorcisms and deliverances. He and I have missed each other several times, trying to catch up and connect and talk about some things, but still trying to get him back on. Andrea Perrin, author of House of Darkness, House of Light, the oldest Perrin girl from the Conjuring movie. We're going to try to have her on again. They just suffered a very tragic loss. She lost her youngest sister.
Yes, I saw that.
Passed away. Yes, very sad. So giving her trying to give her the space that she needs to recuperate and recover and deal with that loss, because they were a fairly tight-knit group of girls. From listening to Andrea talk about them in one of the previous interviews that we had with her. Well, we had her on several times, and looking forward to bringing her back on and talking with us. So we always have some of the best guests.
Yes, we do.
We just got some. We really do. What about you? Have you worked on? Do you have some others that you're working on as well?
Not right at the moment, but I have several that were we were going to ask David Weatherly to come back. I was just waiting on you scheduling a couple of people you had set up before I jumped too hard into that, so I know when would work for everyone.
Understood. Absolutely understand that. And so as soon as we get some dates finalized with some of these other folks, we will be good to go.
Oh, definitely.
So, always a pleasure to have our authors on, and we've got a very interesting author tonight. I actually, are we going to play another song before we get her on? Was that the plan?
I might even play the same one because something tells me that it was it was on a mute thing that is not usually on. I have no idea why that happened, but the audience may not have been able to hear that song.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I
well,
can
then
do that if you like.
why don't we do?
Okay.
Yeah. What? No, what were you going to say? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, I was going to say, what I will do is turn the microphone off, and so that when she answers, you can answer her and talk to her.
Okay.
And then we'll bring her on when the music's over.
That will be fine.
Okay.
So when we bring her on, I will do her bio, and we'll talk about the book. Sounds good. So why don't you go ahead and introduce the song and tell us what we're listening to this time?
All right. Well, it's going to be the same one, although I don't believe you all were able to hear it. It's Fire Dancer by Bo and Lucy, or Lucci. They're out of Georgia, so I'm betting it's Lucy.
I'm betting it's Lucy.
Yes, sisters out of Georgia. So I will play Fire Dancer, and we will get Miss Anna on.
He's gonna dance in the fire. He's gonna dance in the fire. He's gonna write her name across the sky. Like a white-hot flame, burning through his veins. Gonna dance in the fire. Like a white-hot flame, burning through his veins. Gonna dance in the fire. He's gonna dance in the fire. He's gonna dance in the fire. He's gonna write her name across the sky. Like a white-hot flame, burning through his veins. Gonna dance in the fire. Like a white-hot flame, burning through his veins. Gonna dance in the fire. He's gonna dance in the fire. He's gonna dance in the fire. He's gonna dance in the fire.
So back last year, I wanted something to kind of give me a creative outlet and give me a kind of a hobby that I could do on the side. So we relaunched the show then. So it's been interesting. It really has.
We are on
Wow,
now.
that's great.
Oh,
Hi, Ann.
and I just got we just got Wendy back on the line.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Hey, so we are broadcasting. So, Wendy, this is Anna Martin. Anna, this is my co-host, Wendy.
Nice to
Hi,
meet you.
Wendy. Nice
Hi.
to talk with you.
Definitely, yes.
And we are very excited. We're very excited to have you on the show. I'm going to do your bio and just give the book title, and then we're just really going to jump right in. And I honestly don't know. I don't know where to jump because it's like a jigsaw puzzle, a maze of supernatural paranormal activity. So you just get to be the guide on your life for us. So we are very excited to have Anna with us tonight. She is. Let me preface by saying this. I had Anna on a radio program that I did back about 6-7 years ago called The Short Circuit. And that was broadcast on Passionate World Radio, which is an internet radio station out of Ann Arbor, Michigan. And Anna was one of the very first guests that I had on that program. I ran that program from 2010 until middle of 2011, so about a year. Had some really great guests on that particular program, and Anna was one of those that was just an amazing guest. She was very interesting. She was just all kinds of fun, and so I've been meaning to have her back on the show ever since Wendy and I started doing this particular broadcast, because I thought she's just a very unique individual and has such a great story. But she's written a book, came out about 6-7 years ago, and it's called The Martin Family, Their Secret Legacy, and it was written by Anna Martin. And actually, she had a co-writer, Michele Fischer, who was working with her at the time. And I'm just going to read you the back of the book that Anna has released. And it says, "This is one of the most profound and informative cases of close encounters of the fourth kind ever to be made public. The true story begins with the mysterious arrival of the first known Martin relative nearly 200 years ago. Anna Martin and other family members have had many encounters with what they consider to be, quote, unquote, unknown entities. This is the first in a series of books that she is writing about her family's continued experiences with the unexplained and the information that they are receiving from these unknown entities." So it is a great pleasure to have Anna with us on the show, and it's actually very funny because the book was read and endorsed by Bill Bean, author of Dark Force, who is a personal friend, client, and a regular guest on mine and Wendy's shows. And this is what Bill Bean had to say about it. He says, quote, "I read the book in one sitting and found some of the info to be both familiar and disturbing. I think that Anna Martin and Michele Fischer did a great job with writing a very easy-to-read book." That's Bill Bean, author of Dark Force and Delivered. And so, Anna, thank you so much for being back on the show with us tonight.
Well, thank you for having me again. I appreciate that.
You were such a joy and just such a wonderful guest the very first time, and I just had to have you back. And also such interesting material. So why don't you do this? Why don't you kind of introduce us to yourself and the Martin family, and we'll kind of go from there, and then we'll pick up, because I mean the book is done as a series of interviews. So it's vignette interviews that are done with you and that you do with your father and other family members. So we're going to jump in and talk about some things, because, as I mentioned, I received your book about 6 or 7 years ago. I read it. Wendy got her copy last week, but my copy, because I read it the first time, is full of highlights and notes and things that I found interesting and things that I wanted to ask you about the first time. So we'll pick up and go from there. But why don't you just introduce yourself to us and tell us a little bit about this family that you're part of?
Sure. Well, originally the writing of the book actually started because I wanted to put together something unique as a Christmas gift for my family. And in starting to put this book together, and I had Michele was helping me out, she started telling me, "Hey, Anna," she goes, "do you realize that the story that you're talking about and this other one that your father said," she says, "I did a little bit of research on it, and you're not going to believe this, but what you're talking about is actually extraterrestrial related." And I said, "What do you mean?" So that's when she started, poking more into my stories and going back into timelines and to see if this matched that. And we just started, before you know it, we put together this book, and it just started to pick up traction. And I started to get phone calls to be on other radio shows, and people were just calling me and asking me about it, and it's just one thing kind of led to the other. But the one thing that I found very interesting was that all of these things or experiences that were happening to me, after I opened up, I find out that my brother was having these experiences. My sisters were having these experiences. I'm like, wait a minute, what is going on? And that's really how the whole thing just kind of opened up. And then, of course, because I have my brothers and sisters have professional occupations, they didn't want their names to be told. They didn't, they were kind of uneasy with me going public. But I thought, this is something that people really need to know. And it just took off from there.
Now, one of the things that I find very interesting, and this is in the prologue of your book, and this was written by Michele Fischer, and she says the story is that no one knows the lineage of your father's side of the family beyond your great-great-grandfather. In fact, you don't even know his real name because the surname Martin was actually an adopted name. So you really don't, you can trace your family back to your grandfather's grandfather.
Right.
Or your grandfather's
correct.
father.
My great-great-grandfather, actually, he was found as a small child, as an infant, on a basket. Like, I guess back in the days when people used to travel, they would put these baskets that would be hanging from side to side on either side of the horse. Well, I don't know how, or nobody knows to this day how these two horses appeared on, which is, I'm going to call him my great-great-grandfather because that's all that I know where to begin from. He was found in Mexico inside of one of the horses when these two horses, and now the thing that's weird about this is when they got into the property was pretty well enclosed. Mm-hmm. So they don't know how the horses got in. And the workers there were telling my great-great-grandfather's, whatever I'll call him, adopted father, Valentin Martin. They said, hey, there's two horses way over there by the tree, and we can hear a child crying. And so Valentin Martin told his workers, why don't a bunch of you go and gather and surround the two horses and bring me the child? So that's what they did. They went, they brought the baby, and mind you, the baby was very well dressed. He had, from what I was told, he was wearing some type of like embroidery / linen material, like a dress. Mm-hmm. And I later found this out. I don't know if I put this in the book or not, because I later found out that he also had around him some type of a medallion, which I was told that, I guess back in the day, that's how people kind of identified who they belonged to. So, and along with the medallion, there was a note that was pinned saying, do not remove this from the child. And so Valentin Martin, he wanted to adopt the baby, the little boy, mm-hmm. and he was told that he couldn't because they didn't know where the child came from, and they didn't know if the horses had separated or if the parents were killed or hijacked or something to that extent. So he had to wait a period of time. But in combing the land, they never found anything. There was no trace of clothing or blood or absolutely nothing that would suggest that my great-great-grandfather was with other human beings. So to this day, we still don't know where we come from, or we don't know. To us, everything starts with my great-great-grandfather when he was found on that horse. So that's how we, picked up from there.
And let's point out to the listeners, because I don't think that we have done this, that when we're talking about where your great-great-grandfather was found, he was found by a very, very wealthy farmer in Mexico, correct?
Right. That is correct. Mm-hmm. That is correct. He did not have any sons. He just had two daughters that they were both already well in their 30s. And, of course, it was his great desire, wow, he's going to adopt this little boy and make him his own son. But from what I understand, the daughters never married, so when the parents passed away, he was left with all the money, all the property, everything. And he was a very, very good-looking man and very wealthy. He never married. but the women, the wives of the workers, used to throw themselves on him. And of course, being a man, he responded as any man would.
Okay,
And
I'm going to take offense. I'm going to take offense. That's just
you know what?
Now,
Those are my dad's exact words. He said, as a man would respond, that's what he did. Sorry, Travis, didn't mean to offend you.
You couldn't offend him if you smacked him upside the head.
No, but back in the day, that was like the common thing. Because I'll tell you what, Travis, my father, to the best of my knowledge, has never cheated on my mom. And he is just the most wonderful individual that I have ever met. He's never cheated on her. He's never raised his hand, called her names or us. Nothing. He's just one heck of a good individual. But he told this was his exact words. He said, the women used to throw themselves on him, and, well, of course, he responded like a man. So he had children everywhere, but he gave none of them his own last name.
Okay.
So
yeah. Yeah, so this family actually, the lineage is expands beyond your, I guess, the nucleus of your immediate family then.
Right.
By him having.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. Now it's funny because right now it just seems like we're talking history and ancestry and lineage and our grandparents and our parents, and I think every family has interesting stories. Every family has skeletons in the closet. Some, like my family, have skeletons in the closet, under the bed, in the basement, in the attic, outside, buried on the grounds, different places. And some of them, they just they hang out for decorations. But your particular family, something happened to you actually as you got older that really, I guess, spurred you. I mean, you always knew there was something different about your family based on what you say in the book, but the strange appearance of your great grandfather, the unknown lineage of his family and everything, you actually in your early adult life you kind of made a connection between that and the paranormal, the supernatural, and specifically extraterrestrials.
Yes, I did. And that also was just my
Yeah, I would say, how do you make that jump?
Well, that was really weird. I had I have a friend that lives over here close to me, and she had some family coming over because they had a death in the family, so she had family coming over from Mexico. And she was telling me, she says, "Oh, you've got to meet my sister-in-law. She's a pretty well-known psychic over there in I think it was Tecate," she said. I said, "Okay, so." The lady came over, I met everybody, and when I found the perfect opportunity, I just asked her, I said, you have a curiosity, I'm just kind of curious, would you do a reading on me? And she said, yeah, and I remember she looked at my hand, and then, and I've never met this woman before, okay? She knew absolutely nothing about me. Out of nowhere, she says, do you know that you come from extraterrestrials? I was like, what? She goes, yeah. She goes, you come from extraterrestrial, and she was specific. I remember her saying that it was from my father's side. She said, in fact, I know that you have been visited, and so have other members of your family. That threw me for a loop. At first, I thought, no way. But then I started, putting two and two together. Wait a minute. I mean, I've had all these weird things happen. Nobody knows where we come from. Okay, there might be a possibility. Mm-hmm. And then, like I said, I just started talking to my other brothers and sisters, and come to find out that one of my brothers, the oldest one, which I do remember, he was frightened as a child of extraterrestrials. But I never, at that time, I didn't see anything. It wasn't until I got older that I actually saw a few, actually. And I spoke with one, and I couldn't fool myself anymore. I thought, okay, there's something here. But the fact remains the same, Travis, is that I have more questions than I have answers. And to this day, I have not been able to find anybody that can answer those questions for me. So even since the last time that you and I spoke, I've had many unexplained things happen. And to me, it's just become normal. I just keep living my life. They don't hurt me. They don't harm me at all. So I just continue to live my life.
So when you talk about strange occurrences in your family, now I know in the second chapter of the book, which is actually about your father, you start talking about, I guess it was when he tried to enlist in the Army. It's when he during his physicals, they found something very unique.
Right, that's right. They found 2 scars. One he was able to account for because he said that when he was small, I guess he had some kind of like a fat cyst, and one of the nuns and his mother actually operated on him.
Oh,
as gutsy as they could be. They opened it up, pulled the cyst out, drained it, whatever they did, closed it up, and that was that. But he had another scar in his back that the doctor here in the U.S. he could not make ends out of it. He didn't know what it was, and my dad didn't even know he had that scar. So they told him, we're sorry. Because of this scar, you are not able to, to be deployed or wherever they were going in the Army, because he had already gone through training and the whole 9 yards. So, but that scar that my father has, and to this day he still has it on his back. What I found interesting was that my brother told me that he had also been, he remembers being like, I don't know if you want to call it tagged or touched in the back, but also in a similar place where my dad was, where my dad has his. And then when I had my own personal encounter, when I saw that extraterrestrial with my own eyes, and I was wide awake, I also had the same feeling. As a matter of fact, even to this day when I talk about that same spot in my back starts to itch, just like it is right now. And I've never gotten it checked out, but I'll tell you this. Throughout the years since the last time that you and I spoke and since the writing of the book, that spot it's about the size of a dime, and it comes and goes in this same circle. It's like a leathery, bumpy circle. It almost like braille. And then it goes away, and then it comes back and it goes away. It's just back and forth, back and forth. And because I forget it, because it's your back, you don't see your back, often. Right. I forget it's there. But the next time that I go to the doctor, I'm going to ask him to check that out and see what that is. I don't know if they can take an X-ray, or if anybody knows of anybody that has the same similar incidents. Have they gotten it checked out, or I don't know. It doesn't bother me, but I do remember when I talk about it, it starts itching.
Kind of like it knows you're talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's almost like it's recording what I'm saying.
Wow.
It's weird. It's really weird. Yeah.
I had a question about the horses that your however many great grandfather was found upon, or in the saddlebag or saddle basket. It said it was a Russian horse. Now, would that be? Yeah. Do you know if that would be normal for that area, or was that completely weird and unheard of?
From what I understand, they were not common.
Mm-hmm.
So for them, it was something very unique for them to see. And there were the 2 horses. I remember one of them was a white horse, and the other one was a limping horse. Because they started to joke with him, telling like he was the son of a horse. Oh. But as far as I know, yeah, those horses were not common in that, either in that land or in that area or in that country, not sure. But they were not common.
Okay. Yeah, it didn't sound like it, but I wasn't familiar with Russian horses, so I thought I was going to ask that.
Yeah. Yeah, they called him the son of the Russian horse and the limping horse. Interesting. Like those were his parents. People are mean.
Yes, they are. Yes.
A 200-year-old piece of evidence of bullying, going back to
right.
Which is, but people are very cruel. They really are. Now, one of my favorite stories is in chapter 3, and the title is actually "The Fat Rock from the Sky."
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, my father said that because I used to ask him, tell me about your stories, and I mean that's how started to put the book together. He said, you know, it was a long time ago. This was really, really strange. He said, all I know is I remember this big fat rock that fell from the sky. And the people woke up and they saw this big fat rock and they started to dig around it. And then all of a sudden this rock started to ascend. And it was gone. And I never made the connection, two and two together, until Michele said, Anna, that was a UFO. That's the only explanation for that. It wasn't a rock. Mm-hmm. He said, my dad said it was like the size of a house. It was huge. And I guess it either embedded itself underground or it fell, one of the two. Mm-hmm. But when the people started digging around it, it started to ascend, and then it was gone.
But if it was that large, I'm surprised that, you know, if it had been a rock or a meteor, it would have made an explosion and a noise that would have woken everybody within probably 20 miles. So it had to have,
right.
It had to have been something along the lines of a UFO, because it landed softly and quietly.
Right, because they didn't, if I remember correctly, they didn't hear anything. It was just there. Mm-hmm. Nobody knew where it came from, how it got there. They just knew that, you know, they called it the rock, because a fat rock, because they didn't know what else to call it.
Sure. Yeah.
But he says, I remember people started digging around it, and we're all, you know, digging around it, trying to see what this big rock was, and it started to ascend, and it was gone.
Very interesting.
So yeah, they had a lot of weird things that happened when my father was young. Mm-hmm. But the one that gets me to this day is, my dad used to tell us a story, and my grandfather too, about one time that my dad's dad, so my grandfather, he had gotten home, and I guess he had been out with the guys, and he had been drinking. He was intoxicated. He came home, and he started arguing with my grandmother. And he says that the next thing he knows, that he started yelling at the keyhole, because in Mexico, like even to this day, mm-hmm. they have a lot of the keyholes are huge. I mean, I still have keys from my father's ranch that are like about a good 6-7 inches long. Mm-hmm. And he says that he remembers hearing my grandfather yelling at the keyhole, saying, "Oh yeah, you're trying to scare me, you're trying to scare me," and he started backing up. And he said that he at first thought it was a woman coming up the stairs, but when it started to come to the keyhole, it was a man. And he swore it was the devil. And he said when it started coming through that keyhole, I guess it couldn't fit, or it didn't come all the way through. Mm-hmm. But my grandfather got so scared that he ended up passing out, and he just fainted right then and there.
I can't blame him.
So no, I would be scared too, mm-hmm. And that didn't frighten me. Actually, none of the stories scared me. But you know, later on, I remember my grandfather was in our home. We used to live in El Monte, and we were watching something. It was like a disco fever, or something like that. It was something that had to do with like the 70s shows, the way that they dressed. Mm-hmm. And I remember my grandfather said, "Hey, I remember that dress code." He's like, "I saw that dress code," and that's how that story came out. It's just really strange things that happened during those times.
Very, very strange, yes.
Well, you know, I think it's interesting, especially listening to older generations talk about things and describe them in terminology that is relevant and personal to them. You know, we have become so accustomed to, I'm not going to say desensitized, but accustomed to the supernatural and the paranormal through books and TV shows and movies, that, you know, it takes a lot to shock us and to scare us anymore. But if you think about the era and the time of which these things were taking place, this would literally scare the living daylights out of you to see and to experience the things that your family has experienced, and the things that they have seen. I mean, you know, chapter 4 of the book talks about, you know, twin balls of light. You know, again, obviously,
right.
You know, these, you
That's
know,
right.
What could be today described as UFOs, but to them, just balls of light in the sky.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's right. Yeah, they had so many things. But you know what, though, Travis? I mean, I started thinking about it, but one thing that you said just resonated with me. It does take a lot for something to scare me now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm since we last spoke, I have seen and I have heard and I've experienced other things, but the one that was most frightening to me, if you're okay with me jumping into that direction, unless you want to continue with the book first.
No, absolutely.
Okay, the one thing that to this day still frightens me, even thinking about it, kind of makes me shake a little, is my sister was living in a home in Las Vegas. She just moved out about, I'm going to say maybe 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. And the reason she moved out, it was just an incredibly beautiful home. It's something to the equivalent of like maybe a $800,000, $900,000 home here. She was renting it over there with her ex-husband, which happened ironically to be the house of her ex-husband's father. And he moved out because he almost committed suicide in that home. So my sister, I went to go visit her. She had said absolutely nothing about any of this, just that she moved in. They moved in there into this home. I had to go see. The minute that I walked into this home in Las Vegas, the very first thing I felt when I walked into the foyer was I felt 1,000 eyeballs staring at me. And I thought, this is nuts. I'm not going to say anything. So I ended up spending the night there, Travis. And I had gone there with one of my friends, friends at the time, and we walked in, and we both had that sense of feeling like something was staring at us the whole time. Mm-hmm. And then she ended up leaving. I stayed there with my sister for that weekend, and I stayed in her spare room. And in the middle of the night, I felt something. I felt like a burning sensation on my neck. At that time, I was wearing a necklace that has. It's called the Om sign that New Agers use. It looks like the number 3.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But it has the sun and the moon. Okay, so I had a little medallion of that, and I woke up because I felt this burning sensation. I was laying on my left-hand side. Well, it literally felt like somebody was pulling on my chain, and it was burning the side of my neck. And my first instinct was my hair's probably caught on it, right? Mm-hmm. So I go to pull it up. And I'm like, what the heck? There's like something pulling on it. I touched below it. There was nothing there. It wasn't caught on my clothing. It wasn't caught on my hair. And then I had this overwhelming sensation that something was there in the room. So I thought, you know what? I am not going to get scared. No, it's not going to frighten me. I turned around, and I kid you not, I saw remember I don't know if I talked to you about the shadow man that we used to see here at my parents' home?
Yeah, and I definitely... Yeah, well, I want to talk about that in a second. So, yeah.
Okay, so that same shadow with the top hat was at the doorway of the bedroom door. And I said, no way. And I started praying, and I said, no, I refuse to be afraid. I will not be afraid. Well, I ended up falling asleep. But when I fell asleep, I had a dream. I'm hoping it was a dream. I had a dream that same house used to be some type of a barn, and somebody was doing some type of witchcraft or killing animals and people in that area. I saw a hole through the ceiling, and through the hole, a little blue bird came through the hole, and there was a black crow chasing it. And then all of a sudden, I saw from the knees down the feet of a small child, very, very dirty. And it was so disturbing. I woke up the next morning, and I was telling my sister this, and so that's when she started telling me, you know what, I've been hearing things here, but, my husband thinks that it's not true. He doesn't believe in any of this. So just one thing went to the other, where she ended up putting her laptop in her bedroom, and she left it recording. You could hear, and she said, you have to hear this. And she ended up deleting it, Travis, because it was really, really frightening. She took it to work and showed it to a couple of her coworkers, and they were just, turn it off type of deal. She deleted it because she could hear her husband sleeping because he worked early in the morning, and you could hear her having a dialogue with their children downstairs because it was a 2-story home, and then you can hear a woman speaking in the bedroom. You can clearly hear a woman, and it gives me the chills. I don't even want to repeat what she was saying, but there was no one in the home but her husband, and her kids. anyway, I was telling my other sister, about, what I had felt in the house and what I had heard. And my sister didn't believe it either, the one that lives here. I'm sorry, I'm trying not to use any names because I don't know if they would mind me using their names.
Okay.
I understand.
So I told my sister, because there's 4 girls, by the way. So there's me and I have 3 sisters. So I told my sister that lives here, if you don't believe me, come with me. Let's go visit her this weekend. We'll go to Vegas and visit her this weekend. She said, fine. So it was my sister, her 2 daughters, me, one of my daughters, and myself. We went to Vegas, and the minute we walked to the door, you could just feel it. And so my sister in Vegas says, she goes, you guys could either sleep upstairs, and I said, no, thank you. We'll sleep downstairs.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, we'll sleep here in the, in the living room. So my daughter, her 2 daughters, and my sister that accompanied me, and her 2 daughters, and my daughter slept in the family room, which is literally like, I don't know, maybe 5 feet from where we're sleeping, right? So that night, we're blowing up a mattress so we could sleep downstairs right by the front door. And as I'm blowing up the mattress, I had placed my purse face up on the sofa. Well, something lifted my purse and completely turned it upside down. So now all the contents were spilled all over the place. And my sister, who accompanied me, looked at it, and I told her, don't even pay attention to that. That's nothing. That could be a coincidence. So
sure,
don't even worry about that. Okay. Yeah, that's what we thought, except she has like that velvet material on her couches to cover the couches. Mm-hmm. So it's not easy for it to slide off.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, we dismissed it. Well, then now we thought we were falling asleep. I kept hearing somebody pacing back and forth in the kitchen. And the kitchen is right in front of us. And I could hear the fan going on. So I thought it was one of my daughters or my sister's daughters. So I sat up on the mattress, and my sister was sleeping next to me. She said, are you asleep? And I said, no. I'm like, what's that noise? She goes, it's probably one of the girls walking back and forth. I said, I'm going to go look. I got up. I went to the kitchen. The girls I thought were asleep, they were not. My niece says, Auntie Anna, is that you? And I said, yeah. I'm like, who's pacing back and forth? She's like, nobody. And then they all wake up. No, they were all awake, but each one was afraid to say anything because they all thought each of the other was asleep. They all thought they're all asleep, but they were all awake.
Oh, no.
And I said, well, what is that noise? The next thing you know, Travis, the ceiling fan started going in such high speed that it started wobbling like if it was going to fall off. And I could not for the life of me figure out, I couldn't figure out how to turn it off because it's not like a regular switch. The homes up there, they're building them so high tech. It had like a flip switch. Mm-hmm. So I told the girls, do not be scared. God is with us. We have always and we will always be protected. Whatever is here, get out. And we went back to our bed. That same night, about, I don't know, an hour or so later, my sister's younger daughter, the middle child, who at that time I think was about 8 years old, she starts walking down the stairs. Now, this is really, really creepy. My sister and I that were sleeping downstairs, we both get up because we hear, footsteps coming down the stairs. Mm-hmm. So we both look, and here comes the middle child walking down the stairs. She was wearing her dad's T-shirt, so it comes below the knee. She has long, dark hair. Her head is completely down. The hair is all like the Grudge.
Oh yeah.
She was completely asleep. She was sleepwalking.
Oh, my goodness.
And I just about peed my pants. I kid you not.
Yep.
And my sister's like, no, she's just sleepwalking. I'm like, is this normal? This is really weird. So we brought her in, and I laid her down, and I said, go to sleep. I laid her down, and we went back to bed. In the morning, when we all got up, my sister, who was sleeping upstairs, she came downstairs and says, hey, did you guys hear anything last night? And so we started to tell her what happened with the pacing back and forth, and her daughter, how she came down the stairs, sleepwalking. And she said, well, whatever it was, whatever you guys did, she said, upstairs in my room, I kept hearing a tick, 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 tick noise. And so I turned around and I saw, because she has these old style beautiful dressers that have like the U-shaped handles. So you have to literally, they're loose, like So that she looked at it, and that's what it was. Somebody was pulling it and going tick, 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 tick against the furniture. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh my gosh. So because we were only there for a weekend. This all happened within one weekend. The following day, I had given my sister one of those necklaces, but it was made out of wood, and I put it in the kitchen. So I had prayed over it, and I put it in the kitchen. So for the whole weekend that we were there, in the morning when we would get up, it would be facing the opposite direction. And her kids were too small. She has 3 daughters, but they were too small to get up on the counter to reach where that was at. So anyway, the last night that we were there, again, we're getting our bed ready, and all of a sudden you hear this loud crash that was right next to us. And we both looked over. I looked at my sister, and she's like, what was that? And it was kind of dim. She goes over there and to find my sister in Vegas has this old style typing stand, the metal ones. You remember those that you put your paper there and clip it? Okay, the heavy metal one. Mm-hmm. Somebody grabbed it and threw it against the wall so violently, and there was no one there but us. The girls were in the other room. And I guess my sister at that point, the one who didn't believe, she got kind of scared. And I told her, let's just go sleep over there with the girls. And she said, no. So she walked over there. She picked it up from the floor, and she slammed it on the desk. And she said, okay, effers, I don't want to say the bad word. Go ahead. Do it again. And you know what? That was it. It was quiet the whole night. Mm-hmm. She cussed it out, told him, go ahead, I dare you. And it was quiet the whole night. But, you could hear during this whole time, Travis, you could hear whispering. You could feel someone behind you. You could feel eyeballs staring at you. So my sister ended up having to move out because they just couldn't take it anymore. And ironically, I was there last weekend in Vegas, and we passed by the house. And from what I understand, an officer lives there with his girlfriend. And I wanted to so bad. I'm like, just pull over. Let's ask them if they've heard anything. And she's like, no, I don't want to go anywhere near that home. But, again, whatever it is that attempts to come near us, they don't actually harm. In fact, they just want to scare you. It's really, I don't know. But that was one incident. And then like about almost 2 years ago, my husband and I we moved out of our apartment to come and help out my mother because my father ended up he got dementia. Like a couple of years after I had written the book, he started to get dementia. Mm. So we left, and we've been here for about 1.5 years now. So yeah, about 1.5 years ago. My mom, being the generous individual that she is, she allowed some random lady that she met on the bus. Thank goodness this lady was, a pretty decent individual. The woman had nowhere to live for whatever reason. So my mom allowed her to go ahead and she could, sleep in the living room because all of our rooms are taken until she can get herself situated somewhere else. Mm-hmm. So my husband, who used to work the night shift, you'd go in at 5 and come out something like at 2. So he'd be home like about 2:30, something to that extent. Mm-hmm. I kept forgetting to get him a key to come in. So he had to keep either calling me or text messaging me, open the door. So anyway, this was during the summer, about 1.5 years ago. He calls me on the phone. I was just dead asleep. And he said, Anna, why? He said, I've been text messaging you, open the door. I've been standing in front of you for like about a good 10 minutes in the door, in the front yard. I said, okay. So I got up, I opened the door, and when I made a left into the hallway, I heard people talking in the living room. It sounded like there was about a good 4 or 5 people talking in the living room, but keep in mind I was still kind of half asleep. Mm-hmm. And I saw a round ball. It was like the shape of a soccer ball with some type of eye, an eye of light in the center. And my first instinct was I thought it was that lady that was sleeping there. I thought she was talking on her cell phone, her flip phone, and that light was from her phone. I even told her. I said, oh, what's the matter? I said, you couldn't sleep? And I heard I heard scuffling, like people running. And I thought, okay, she didn't say anything, and I clearly saw what appeared to be a woman sitting on the sofa, like it was getting ready to leave, but I caught it, so it kind of stayed. And I thought, okay, my instinct was, she's probably got embarrassed, maybe thought she woke me up. So I went to go open the door, which we have a wooden door, and then we have a steel gate. So the wooden door was wide open because it was during the summer, and my husband was standing on the porch. And he said, when I opened the door, my husband said, why didn't they open the door for me? And I said, who? And we started walking back in. My heart just about fell to the floor when I see this woman that was living in our home. It was as if somebody threw her in the middle of nowhere. She was laying on the floor where in between the foyer and the backyard. It was like a dog that comes in and just kind of plops itself anywhere. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, my gosh. I'm like, did you? I told my husband, did you or did you not hear people talking in the living room? And he said, I did. That's why I said, why didn't they open the door? I'm like, there's nobody here. And my husband, by the way, was very incredulous until that happened. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, my gosh, what is this lady doing here on the floor? This woman, she was not there, Travis, when I got up. There's no way I would have stepped on her. She was blocking my entrance from the hallway to the front and the front door. So wow. I started to tell my brother this story. This was like on a Wednesday or Thursday. That Saturday, my brother had come over, the one that's been abducted. And I asked him, I started telling him the story, and he looked at me and said, Anna, that lady got abducted. I'm like, how do you know? And he's like, because I usually see that light, and I hear exactly what you say when they bring me back. When I start coming to, that's exactly what I see, and that's exactly what I hear. So that lady was abducted. It's like, oh, my gosh. So, but, I don't know. It's just weird. I'm telling you, so many different things happen to me that they don't harm me, and I don't know if it's, I would like to think that I am protected. I feel that I am. Mm-hmm. Or like they're trying to pull this struggle of, are you afraid of me or am I? And I'm not afraid of them. I'm not afraid of them, but I'm not going to play with fire either.
No.
Exactly. Now, you mentioned a little while ago talking about the shadow figure. And that's something that you and I had discussed in the previous show. And this is something that you saw growing up, but that you have continued to see periodically. Right.
And as a matter of fact, when I had a show that came and filmed in my home, they caught something on tape. And the producer was asking me, hey, do you remember when we walked into your garage? I'm like, yeah. He goes, who was behind you? And I was like, oh, it was your guy, your psychic guy. He's like, no, he was in front of you. I'm like, really? So he went and showed me the just a clip of what he had. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh my gosh, it looked like it was literally a shadow figure, but it looked like it had like a cape or something. I have no idea what that is. I don't know what that shadow thing is. Mm-hmm. But I do believe that it has been protecting us this whole time, because we've had a lot of incidents where we had one guy that tried to break into the home. He was scared away by that. I had another individual that was trying to come into the bedroom window. He was hiding in the backyard. He was scared by that. There was this other time where some guy was trying to steal my car, and it was scared of that. I saw that, but to me it happened in a dream, except when I woke up, it was reality. It really did happen. The markings and what happened during the dream was out here in my front yard, just like I had dreamt it. So it made me question, did I dream it or did it really happen?
Right.
So I can only think that whatever that is, it was protecting us. But, what is it? I don't know. Did I tell you also how for like 3 years in a row, right before Christmas, I would have certain images appear on my body. And the last one that I had, which is still to this day, is still on the back of my neck, is what appears to be a man on a horse. And it's still there.
No, you didn't tell me about that.
Okay, yeah, I'm telling you, there's just so many things that have happened and continue to happen that it's very difficult for me to sit down and put everything in a book because they would be as thick as an encyclopedia. And these are just my own personal experiences. This is not even, putting together what my brothers and sisters have experienced. So I have on the back of my neck, there is, it looks like some kind of a watermark, but you could clearly see there's a man on top of a horse, and it looks like the horse is in motion, and the cape or the wings of the man riding it are flying backwards, and it's still there. To this day, I still have it. That came up on one evening when my sister that lives in Vegas had come over for Thanksgiving. And we were sitting down in the table. It was about 11 o'clock at night talking when I felt a burning sensation in the back of my neck. I didn't want to touch it because we were eating chicken. I had my hands all greasy. I thought I was being bitten by a spider. And I told her, what's on my neck? What's on my neck? And I had my hair up in a ponytail, so I just turned around. And she said, oh, my God. She starts calling her husband, look. It was like somebody was drawing this figure on my neck. In other words, it was being produced in front of her eyes. Mm-hmm. I asked her to take a picture, and she took a picture. I saw it, and I just couldn't believe it. But still through till this day, it's still there. And then like about a year later, again, right before like Christmas and right before the holidays, I was at school. I was taking the classes to become a paralegal assistant. Mm-hmm. And as I'm listening to the teacher give a lecture, my hand, the palm of my hand and my left hand started to burn. It started to itch at first. When I started scratching it, it started to burn. So I was so intently listening to what the teacher was talking about that I took a quick second to look down, and right in front of my face, and to the astonishment of the girl who was sitting next to me, we were both looking at my hand, and you could clearly see a small star being drawn in the center of my palm. And we both just stared at it, and it was red, and it was bright for a couple of days, and then it started going dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. I mean, to this day, if you look at it, you can still see it there, but it's pretty faint. So what else? I had on. I'm sorry.
It's very different and almost frightening.
It is, and I got scared because my sister said, "Oh my gosh, or something is trying to possess you." So she scared the heck out of me. That the first thing I did was I went to go look for a Catholic priest.
Good move.
I mean, that's how I've been told. Hey, they're good with this stuff. So I booked it over there. I sat with the priest. I told him everything that I'm telling you, minus of course the Vegas story with that house, because that hadn't happened yet. Mm-hmm. I was explaining everything with him and telling him all these things that have happened to me. And I showed him my neck. He saw it. I showed him my hand. He saw it. And he told me not to be frightened. He said, what's happening to you? He said that what you have on your hand is called the Star of Mary. But he said in Spanish, it's the Star of Maria, the Virgin Mary. Mm-hmm. I'm like, well, what does that mean? He's like, it's a form of stigmata. But it's not your traditional. Don't be afraid of it. Nothing can harm you. There's nothing wrong with you. So ever since then, I've been, okay, whatever, just live on with my life.
What else can you do, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It's like when I saw the extra-terrestrial in my brother's home, and he finally came clean and said, yeah, that's, I've been, it's my extra-terrestrial friend, and he comes to visit me from time to time. I was like, what are you talking about? This isn't normal. And he told me the same thing. What am I going to do? Who am I going to call? Because I can't call I'm going to call the police, who am I going to call? Who are they going to arrest? Who? What? I have no choice but to just live with it. Because he's actually wrestled and fought with at that time I didn't know what they were called until I was talking to a friend of mine. He's like, oh yeah, he's really into this. And he said, yeah, those are called reptilians. And that what you're talking about? Those are called the tall whites. Those are called the grays. That's how I learned of their each individual name. Prior to that, I just knew what they looked like because my brother would tell me. Mm-hmm.
Well, so the names were rather self-explanatory. Almost too simple to think of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, I mean, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I was just going to ask. You said that you had someone come into your home. Was it an investigative group, or was it the one who filmed the entity behind you?
It was an investigative group. I had actually several people come, and they actually ended up filming in my home. And I guess they caught so much in the house that I ended up being the first show that aired. And wow, I'm trying to remember the name of it because it was so long ago. It was called From Beyond. That was the name of the show. It was on Mundo Fox.
Mm-hmm. I remember it vaguely. The show. I don't remember your show, but yeah, I remember the name vaguely.
Yeah, mine was actually the first one.
Oh, neat!
That came out.
I guess
that's telling me. Yeah. The producer was telling me I have so much footage and I have to cut it down, and I don't know what to cut out because it's all so good.
Well, so make it a longer show.
I don't know. Do what you can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was very interesting. Yeah, but like I said, I mean, all I can do is just, continue to live my life. But right. I know that I am protected. I know that there's a purpose for me being here. Mm-hmm. I can't quite figure out what that is, to be honest with you. I don't think anybody really can. It's like at the tip of my tongue. It's like I'm almost there. Mm-hmm. But I still have some time to go through. But I don't remember, Travis, if it was your radio show or another one that I was on that I was talking about some of these things, and then all of a sudden some external force blocked us out for like a couple of minutes. And I didn't even know because I was talking. And then the host came back on and he said, Anna, he's like, hold on a second. He's like, I don't know if any of you were aware, but we were just attacked on the show. That something came in and blocked me out. So whatever it was that I was saying, mm-hmm. Somebody didn't like it, or I don't know, but they blocked us out for a couple of minutes.
Maybe the energies surrounding you were just interfered with the transmission or something, possibly.
Yeah, something to that extent.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever it is that I wrote in my book, to me they were just stories, but they're true stories that happened. But whatever it is that's in here, it threatens something out there. I almost get the feeling like, to me, of course, they're just stories, but they're true stories. Mm-hmm. But there's other people out there that are trying to connect the dots, and I have some of those dots that they need so that they can connect.
Right. Get their own.
Which one it is. Right. Mm-hmm. Well, what it is, which one, what story, what is it that I said? I don't know. Mm-hmm. But that's the feeling that I get.
Now, do you think that your faith protects you, or your great grandfather from way back when, or maybe a combination of both?
I don't know, but now that you say that, I remembered something. When I saw and heard in my living room those people talking, mm-hmm. There was something within me that they could not handle. Mm-hmm. And I get the feeling that it's something within, like, your eyes. They could not withstand whatever light, if you will, that's within me.
Right, yes.
They can't stand it, because the same thing happened when I was at my sister's home. If I became afraid, it's like whatever that was became stronger. But the minute that I said no, and I stood my ground, it would fall. It would mm-hmm. crumble. It would get weak. So whatever it is that I have within me, or my family lineage, where we come from, or who we're connected to, that's otherworldly, mm-hmm. is obviously very strong, and I have to believe, and I believe in my own heart that it's a good force. It's not negative. It's something that is so good that the negative can't stand, and they want to knock it down, but they can't, because I really don't get scared. I mean, they shock me, like when somebody goes boo, yeah, you're gonna jump.
Oh yeah,
but
that's
the minute that the minute that I jump and, no, I stand my ground. No. You don't have the right to be here, or you don't have the right to bother me. You don't have the right to be anywhere near me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care whether it's a ghost, an entity, a demon, an extraterrestrial, whatever it may be. Like, you do not have that right. And it goes away.
Very good. I'm glad you have that strength and have been able to kind of build on it over the years and protect yourself and probably those around you.
Yeah, so I believe that I am protected, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned right then you were kind of laundry listing the types of paranormal activity, you know, whether it's a ghost, a demon, an extraterrestrial, and so forth and so on. When you look, Anna, at the experiences of your family, do you think that the experiences could be lumped into, let's say, it's all just extraterrestrial, or do you see it as kind of being this cross-section of paranormal activity, so that there are ghosts and that there is demonic activity and then the just aspect and then there are the extraterrestrial, or do you think they're all intertwined, or do you think that there's
they're all intertwined. They're not. I know a lot of people would say, "Oh no, those are extraterrestrials," but it's not. I now, because I've had different experiences, I know the difference between an extraterrestrial, a ghost, or a demon. I know the difference between all of them. And you know what else too? I had woken up one night, and in the foot of my bed there stood. It was the body of a man. However, the skin was leopard. The head was like a lion, but the body of a man. And all it said to me was, "I'm sorry, Anna, but I have to leave." I thought, what the heck was that? Well, a couple of months ago, I went to a temple in Montclair. It's a Hindu temple. I walked in, I was talking to one of the ladies, just shooting the breeze, and she brings me into her temple, and what do I see in there? That same exact thing that I saw years back. So I know they're real. And she told me that the name of that was, his name is Narasimha or Narasimha. It has the head of a lion and the body of a man. I said, I've seen that before. Well, it's in the Hindu tradition, so it kind of makes me wonder as to whether the whole thing of past lives is true or not. I mean, I know for a fact that what I'm seeing because somehow or the other, I end up coming across that same exact thing that gives me confirmation. Yes, I did see it. Yes, you did see that. But yeah, if anybody that knows anything about the Hindu religion, they can. I think she said it was Narasimha, N with Nancy, Narasimha, and that it's supposed to be a half lion, half man, and something about God giving this creature power to rule over the earth, and he became he started hurting the people instead of helping them. Something to that extent. I really wasn't listening to her because I was beside myself that I was looking at the very thing that I had seen in my room years back. So, yes, there's a difference between demons. There's a difference between extraterrestrials. There's a difference between ghosts. And it's just a whole cornucopia of things that we are not familiar with here on this earth. But I get the feeling that more and more people are waking up, and there's more and more people like me that are seeing these things. And, I mean, if you're a weaker individual, you're going to become frightened, and that's the worst thing you can do. Don't get scared.
Right.
Just remember and keep true to your faith. Know that you are a child of God, and you are made in God's image. And nothing can touch you. Nothing can harm you.
Now, I want to go back to the book for just a second because we've kind of segued back to the extraterrestrial and the entity type of aspect. And it's actually chapter 9 of your book. It was done in an interview that Michele Fischer conducted with you in 2010. The title is Several Alien Beings. And it says that you dealt with several entities that were originated from, and I'm assuming in Ethiopia.
Oh yes, Ethiopia.
Ethiopia.
Yes. Yes. Okay. That I had started experimenting with meditation, and this is before I even knew what meditation was. I didn't even know it existed. Later on, like I said, I had the experience first, and then way later, I get the connection. I get the confirmation that yes, what you're doing is this, and yes, that's called that, and yes, that does exist. So I have the experience first. What happened there is this was during the summer. I had sat down, and I knew that every time I sat down and closed my eyes, but remained awake, I would start seeing things. It was kind of like when you turn on the TV, but in your head, and you could literally see and you can hear. So on this one occasion, I remember I was sitting there in the room. I was by myself. It was in the summer. The first thing I saw is I saw myself floating away from my body, and then I saw myself go through the roof. I saw the sky. I saw the stars. I got all the way up there where everything was blue. I saw the comets and stars pass by, and the next thing I know it, I'm in this grayish-colored world, and I remember looking down, and it kind of looked like clouds, but it wasn't. It felt more like what cotton candy feels like, and it was all a light gray. And I remember just standing there, and from a distance, I could see what I thought were a bunch of people walking towards me. And as they got closer, I realized that they were nothing but extraterrestrials, all of them. And they knew that I was there. They were very well aware that I was there because they were coming around me and kind of like moving to the left and to the right so that they wouldn't bump directly into me. Mm-hmm. The next thing I know it, one of them came out of nowhere, and I remember him saying, "Welcome," like he was excited, "Welcome, welcome." And I looked at him and I said, and I never opened my mind, my mouth. This all happened through your mind. And I asked him through my mind, I said, "Where am I?" And he said something like Ethiopia, because I remember repeating Ethiopia, like Ethiopia, what? And he's like, "No." And I said, "Hey," I said, I'm looking for God. And they know who God is, by the way. And he said, "Oh, you went the wrong way. You need to go towards that way." And I remember thinking at that moment, what do you mean? Where is that way? Because it was like in a circle. There was no left, no right, no up, no down. Where that way? Where? And then I remember him telling me. He said, "You need to be very careful because just like on Earth you have good and bad humans." He said, "Here too in Ethiopia, whatever that was, we have good and bad." And I can't remember the name. He gave it a name of their race, but it was not. He didn't say extraterrestrials. He didn't say aliens. He said something else. But because I didn't know what he was talking about, my brain couldn't compute, so it kind of like tossed it to the side. So he did tell me. He said, "You need to stay away from the ones that are gray." And I remember looking at him thinking, "What do you mean? I mean, you're gray. You look gray to me." So he said, and I did ask him. I had asked him, why do I have to stay away from it? And he went on to tell me that the gray-colored ones were against the human race. That they did not want us. They just wanted to squash us, get rid of us. And I asked him why, and he said that because our minds were so incredibly powerful that every single time that we have a negative thought, it shoots up into the air like bombs. So we're disturbing wherever it is that they live. And since we on Earth, I guess our main purpose is for everybody, which is kind of goes back to to a biblical point of view. All we have to do is get along, and we become one. Like they say, safety in numbers. There's more power in numbers. Mm-hmm. That's all we have to do. And we here on Earth, we can't seem to get that together. Everybody is so stuck in the I, me, that we are our own worst enemies. It is we as human beings that open up these doorways and allow other things to come in. But because we are unique, because we are made in God's image, because we are God's children, because as a matter of fact, he said that to me. He said something to the extent of that they recognize that we are like God's children and his flowers. And so there's extraterrestrials that are here specifically to help us. And then there are those others that they just want to kill us. They're tired of us. They want to get rid of us and be done with it. So is that what you were talking about, that Ethiopian?
It is. Yeah, that was the direction that I was wanting you to go in, because it really is a very interesting, story that you tell about, encountering this being for the first time. So I wanted you to address that. Now, you mentioned your siblings, your sisters and your brother, and their some of their encounters with the supernatural and the paranormal. But you have children yourself. Has this carried over into their lives as well?
Well, lately I don't think as much, probably in part because my oldest daughter is kind of scared to talk about these things. Mm-hmm. She had an experience where all three of us were sleeping in one bed, my daughter and my two daughters and myself. I remember waking up in the middle of the night because I keep hearing this like a low-grade humming. It sounded like a zoom, 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 zoom. And I remember I opened my eyes and I saw in my bedroom window, because my feet used to face the window. I saw through the bedroom window what appeared to be a flying saucer. It looked like a UFO, and it was literally hovering right outside our bedroom window. And within that split second, I remember it shot out like a beam of light. And it went directly into my oldest daughter's stomach. And I remember her going, oh, like, doing that. And when I realized what I was seeing, being a mother, I automatically like awoke. And when I woke up, that same force was trying to force me to go back to sleep. And I don't know how they do this, Travis, but they do force you to sleep. And I remember turning around to no, and I was fighting with that I could, and I had my younger daughter in between us. I remember I put my arm out, I extended it to put my hand in front of the beam to block it from going into my daughter's stomach, and that's the last I remember. The next morning, I woke up, completely forgot what had happened that night. I took my daughter to school. They called me from the school. I think she was like in 4th grade at the time, 4th or 5th. And I got a phone call. Your daughter has a fever. You need to come get her. Her stomach hurts. And the minute she says her stomach hurts, she has a fever, I remember what happened last night. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, my gosh. Is there like a connection between the two? So now keep in mind, from where I live to where the school is approximately 5 minutes walking distance. By the time I got to her, and I took her, and I said, I'm going to take her directly because I have Kaiser, so I'm going to take her directly to Kaiser and have them see what's going on. On our way down there, Travis, it's like somebody just flipped the switch on, and it was gone. Her pain was gone within a split second. Her fever was gone within that split second. We never even made it to the doctor's office. It was just gone. But from that day forward, she started to have pain in her ovaries. And then later on, the doctor said that later, that she had an ovarian cyst. And, of course, now I'm a grandma. She has a baby. And ever since then, everything has been normal. No pain, no nothing.
Wow.
It's fine.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah. Weird.
That's great news. It is. Yeah, but, a positive outcome to a very strange story.
Yeah, it is.
Definitely.
But like I said, I have just so many stories. It's unbelievable. I would keep it here for hours and hours and hours and still not even make a dent.
Now, what about now? With you in your present day life, what types of supernatural paranormal activities are continuing to go on today?
Well, I have something that happened. Kind of recently, but I'm kind of afraid. I don't know if I should say this on the air or not, because I did receive some information on how to cure my father's dementia. Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of hesitant to talk about it because I don't know if that's going to bring on repercussions later where, dare I say, a pharmaceutical industry or somebody else is going to come after me.
I understand.
Oh, yeah.
And they probably
so I'm kind of scared to say that, but I can tell you this. It is curable, but the problem is my father's dementia is so far gone that what I need to do, I can no longer do it because he will not cooperate anymore because he doesn't understand who he is and where he is, and it takes I need to cleanse him from the inside out. I need to pretty much make his intestines and everything like very clean. In order to do that, you need to drink a lot of liquid, and you need to take a lot of, organic and natural herbs to gently and thoroughly cleanse everything out. Mm-hmm. Well, he'll take like 3 ounces of water and he's done. Don't bother me anymore. So with what I need to do, I can no longer do that because he will not cooperate. And he won't cooperate because he doesn't know any better. But I can tell you this. Dementia is curable. Parkinson's is curable. Cancer is curable. Arthritis is curable. Everything that we have put on our bodies is reversible. And we have it, and a lot of people have the information, but they too are afraid to speak up.
Well, Wendy and I have talked about that. Yeah, we have talked about that on this show, and even before when we were on the other platform. But we've talked about the fact that there has to be in the 21st century, with all of the advances that have been made scientifically and medically, there has to be cures for these things. And why has it not come to the forefront? And much like you, we've always pointed out pharmaceutical companies and the insurance companies and politicians and those with money being in control and not wanting that information to come to light.
Yep.
Right. And you want to know something, Travis?
Yes.
We can all get that information, all of us. All you have to do is take the time to sit down and meditate. But when you meditate, it has to be done in a certain way. Everybody, from what was told to me, is that we are all enslaved. And we are all enslaved because those that don't have the power are trying to subdue, to keep us under the water, so to speak, so that we can't wake up to realize our potential. Which makes me wonder that the Bible has a lot of things about, as a man thinketh, so too shall he become, and don't covet your neighbor's wife or whatever this person has, that person, because you could have it too. It's true. But we have forgotten how to do that because we've forgotten our connection and who we are with the greatest, with who made us. Mm-hmm. We've forgotten. So those, that 1% that holds all the money, that 1% that holds all that knows of the cure and starts killing people when they start talking about different ways to be healed, they do it because they are not enlightened. And because they're not enlightened, they need slaves. Because if we all become kings and queens, well, who's going to serve us?
Right.
You see what I mean? But all you have to do to get this information, and I'll give it to you in the air, but everybody has to do it on their own. And like I said, first and foremost, whatever it is that I wrote in my book, Travis, which one of those stories or how other people are connecting the dots, is key point. But number 2, all you have to do is sit down and meditate. And the way that you meditate is the very first thing you need to do is you need to pray and ask for protection. Because a lot of people that sit down to meditate and don't know what they're doing and do it just for the ego, for the self, or, I'm going to make riches for myself and what have you, whatever, for the wrong reasons, they actually end up getting possessed. So that's how possessions take place, some possessions. But if you sit down and you sit Indian style, have your neck, your back, everything nice and straight. Don't hunch over, but everything has to be nice and straight with the palms facing upward. Close your eyes and first and foremost say a prayer and ask, if you're atheist, whoever you believe in, ask for protection. Let God know, or whomever it is that you believe in, let them know that you are attempting meditation and to please protect you and guide you. From there, you're going to have to try to wipe out your mind and don't let any thoughts come in, which is very difficult to do. The minute that a thought comes in, because you're going to start thinking, oh, I forgot to do this, or I have to do this, or I have to write down this, or before I forget, don't. Meditation is for you. It's a connection between you and God, because this is how I started getting all this. You sit down, close your eyes, say your prayer, and then be quiet. Like it says in, I can't remember, where some of the Bible, it says, be still and know I am God. And start listening. Yeah, just start. So like I'm not a Bible reader, but I know it's there because a lot of things that I've gotten, other people I've heard other people say that, and they say it's in the Bible. So listen through your right ear. With your eyes closed, concentrate on the in between your eyebrows, what they call the third eye, and just listen. Listen. Don't fall asleep. If you fall asleep, it's no big deal. Do it again the next day, and do it again the next day. Because what's going to end up happening most likely is you're going to fall asleep, or you're not going to be able to control your thoughts. You got to you got to bypass that first, and then once you bypass that, you're going to feel this an incredible sense of peace. And you're going to feel that you're not alone, that there's someone there. But it's a very comforting companionship. At that point, ask your question. And then listen. You will get the answer right away. And it doesn't matter what it is. You can ask about anything. I asked for the cure for my dad, and I got it. Unfortunately, I was too restless at the time to sit and meditate. So now that I'm able to do it, I can't because he won't cooperate. That's the frustrating part.
Very frustrating.
It would have to be. Yeah. One of the chapters, chapter 14 in your book, you're asked the question: Are there alien agendas? Do these various extraterrestrial races, the Greys, the reptilians, the tall whites, do they have the same agenda? Do they have different agendas? What agendas have you come to realize through your encounters with them?
I believe that they all have different agendas. Like I said, there's some that really, really desperately want to help us. And I've gotten the feeling, as a matter of fact, I made one connection when on my way coming back from Vegas, I had to pull over because my niece had to use the restroom, and of course we're in the middle of nowhere. And we pulled over to this abandoned gas station, and in that abandoned gas station, there was an old rusted truck. Underneath that truck was a little cat, a little kitten. I wanted to rescue it so bad, but it was afraid of me, so it would hiss, and I couldn't grab it. Well, that's the same thing with these other extraterrestrials that are trying to help us. We have become so afraid of the different type of, people that have had direct experience that they want, some of them, the ones that want to help us, they can't because we retaliate. We retaliate out of fear. We don't know who you are, what you are, get away from me, And then there's the others that they just plain flat out don't care. The ones that they call reptilians, which actually look like lizards. They look like lizards. They're as big as human beings. Those, you could smell them a mile away. Because when I've come across where not literally come across them, but have seen them in the distance, they smell like rotten egg.
Sulfur.
They smell foul. Pardon me. Just really foul. And that's when I know there's one passing by. And by the way, those two, the balls of fire that I talk about in my book that my dad saw, I've seen it in the wash, or I guess some people call it a ditch, where the water that passes through. I've seen it a couple of times. I've seen those balls pass by, and I'm not the only one. As a matter of fact, even Michele herself, when she spent one night in at our home, she saw that ball of light with an eye in the center of it. I've seen that ball of light, and then later, way later, after I believe after I wrote the book, one of my mom's sisters who lives in Mexico was telling me about her experience with that ball of light, not even knowing that I had written a book or that I had talked about this. So I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, so there definitely is a connection. I can no longer try to dismiss that. There's extraterrestrials. There's other things happening from other worlds, and there's other people that are having the same exact experience. But why is it that some of us see and hear and feel when others go through their life not just completely oblivious? I can't say it's because they don't believe in me. I not only did I not believe, I never even knew about this until it started happening to me. So it's not like I could say, well, I don't believe in that. I didn't know any better. I saw it, and then later I made the connection.
So, as you've interacted with these entities, have you come to a realization or an understanding about your great-great-grandfather? Was he one of them? Was he chosen by them? How do you see the connection between your family and this activity?
I think that my great-great-grandfather was one of them. I think that he was. I think that he was placed in that horse, and he really didn't come from anywhere. He came from extraterrestrial. I think they made him. And maybe tried to use him to clone others. I don't know. But I do believe with all my heart and soul that my great-great-grandfather was from an extraterrestrial race. I mean, just like my dad. My dad, other than his dementia, he's never been sick. Never. And I was like, wow, he had to get the granddaddy of all illnesses. I guess it could be worse because he's as strong as a horse, Travis. My father is 80-something, 87, I think, 88. And he walks upright. He can outrun me in a race. He is physically fit. I mean, physically fit. When the doctors did a full evaluation and physical on him, the doctor said, if I hadn't done it myself, I wouldn't believe it. Your father is incredibly healthy. Other than his computer being full, so to speak, no more space in the head, he is incredibly fit. There's absolutely nothing wrong with him. He has no arthritis, nothing that a person of his age should have. He's incredibly well reserved. As a matter of fact, you look at his body, he doesn't even look like an 87-year-old man. His face is a little bit wrinkled, but he's got a full set of hair because all of his teeth are intact. There's nothing wrong with him. And he's always had that sixth sense. Ever since we were growing up, he would tell us, don't do this, don't do that, don't go here. No, today's not the day. Just different things. And we're like, wait, what the heck? So I do believe that we do come from extraterrestrial lineage. How can you prove it? I don't know. I really don't.
Well, now, you mentioned early on about the medallion that supposedly was on your great-grandfather. Is that still in the family? Do you know what it looks like? Have you ever had it looked at?
No, I don't know. I never saw it. I never saw it. I don't know where it is or who has it, where it came from. But my oldest brother, was telling me that when he tapped on that, because he's the one that told me about the medallion. I didn't even know about it at all. He's a lot older than I am. But I don't remember who told him, but they told him that medallion had, there was a symbol on there. He just didn't know. He doesn't remember what the symbol was. It had some kind of a symbol on it, on the medallion. But I don't remember if he said if it was gold or silver or what type of metal. I don't know.
Okay, I was just curious because I didn't recall that from our first interview. I don't remember you mentioning that, so that kind of jumped out at me. So I wanted to. Yeah,
because after I wrote the book. After I wrote the book and after I was on different radio shows, just other family members started to give me little bits and pieces of what they knew. So yeah.
Now, when you and I talked the first time, and even here in the book, you talk about wanting to continue telling these stories. Are you working on anything right now? Are you trying to put more of these stories in writing?
You know what? I don't, because I keep getting interrupted with different stuff that happens. I never know where to start. When I start writing something, then something else happens, and then that, you know what I mean? It's it's an ongoing. That is just there's no point. unless I literally sit there and like one of my brothers, I have a brother that's a doctor, and he says, no, what's happening to you is you're having something called lucid dreaming, I think he said.
Yeah.
Or I think that's what he called it, lucid dreaming. He says, I tell you what I want you to do. And he's like, I want you from now on, you're going to put a piece of paper and a pen next to your bedpost, and every time you think you hear something or see something, I want you to get up, and I want you to write the date and look at the time and write at the time and what happened, and then go back to sleep. I said, okay. So I did that. And then something like about a week or two later, we connected again, And he said, all right, so tell me, what happened with the stuff that you're writing? And I said, well, the page got full. Like, and he said, silent. He's like, what do you mean it got full? I'm like, well, I ran out of space. I gave up. There's no point. He's like, wait, there was actually writing on the page. Yes, there was. He was hoping that I was going to say, oh, yeah, I woke up in the morning, you know what, it was a dream. It didn't happen. But I couldn't do that. He couldn't do that. He couldn't say that. Mm-hmm. So he just gave up. He's like, okay, maybe you're really happening, you know, something's really happening to you. Never mind. You want to know something, Travis? Right now as we're speaking, I'm going to have to take a picture of this because there's this beautiful, it looks like in between a coyote and a dog and a wolf. Right outside I'm in my car, by the way.
Yeah.
And I turned over to the left because I heard somebody honking, and there's this beautiful white animal walking around my neighborhood.
Oh, very cool. You'll have to send me the picture. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, I'm going to see if I can take a picture of it. He comes back over here. I've never seen this. It looks like a dog. It looks like it's white. It's all completely white. And it looks in between the dog and a coyote.
Very cool. That is very cool. Now, I'm bouncing back just a little bit. As you have, obviously you've moved around, you have your own family and things like that. What types, we've talked about extraterrestrials, we've talked about, the shadow man. What other types of unusual and maybe unexplained entities or creatures have you seen?
Well, if you want to jump from one to another, I actually saw an angel who said his name was Uriel. Mm-hmm. And back at the time, I did not know that there was even somebody by that name. I thought he said Ariel because it was during the time that the Little Mermaid had come up, the cartoon. So I remember saying, "Oh, Ariel," and he smiled. And he wrote up with his finger on the cloud, and he literally spelled it Uriel. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, it's Uriel. And we're jumping from one thing to another, if that's okay with you.
No, that's fine.
Extraterrestrials back to the angelic realm. I have seen them as well. I saw Uriel. I became familiar with him, and then I saw the archangel Michael. Mm-hmm. And who else did I see?
How was that?
I want to say Raphael, but I'm not quite. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I was just curious. What was your reaction to seeing the archangels?
Well, that again was during meditation.
Oh, okay.
And when you meditate, you're wide awake. You're not sleeping.
Right.
The archangel Uriel, I remember looking in his eyes, and it looked like he had two little flames in his eyeballs, like where the pupil goes. Mm-hmm. And he had, on his person, he had this beautiful sword. The handle of the sword was all jeweled. It was so pretty. And then later, I had gone over to Barnes & Noble's at the time, and I started looking at the Book of Angels to see if there really was an angel by the name of Uriel. Mm-hmm. And that's when I found him. Yeah, Uriel is supposedly is the angel that stands at the gate of heaven, protecting the gates of heaven.
Yes.
And so I became familiar with him, and then I want to say his name is Raphael. He was just really big. He had super long hair, black hair, all white, very broad-shouldered, very tall. He didn't say anything to me. He just smiled.
Strong silence, huh?
Gabriel. Yeah, he didn't say anything. Well, actually, none of them really did. Uriel didn't say anything. He just smiled and wrote his name in the cloud. He literally spelled it out, Uriel. I'll never forget that. I had one incident at the Target over here in the City of Industry when they had just built it. I remember I was walking into Target. I was going to go do whatever shopping. They had just built that Target. And in front of the Target, they have those big red balls in the front.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They're like made out of cement. Okay, I remember being out, and this is really weird because it's still kind of foggy. I was talking to a person there that I couldn't tell. We were outside right in front of those balls. I couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman that I was speaking to. And he or she had very, very short curly hair. And I don't even remember what we were talking about, but it was, he was very tall, and he was looking at me, and I remember looking into his eyes, and I saw what appeared to be two little scintillating, like slivers of sheet metal where the pupil goes. And I remember thinking to myself, Anna, don't be rude, stop staring at him, stop staring at his eyes, because we're talking. And I also remember feeling that he was saying, can she tell? Can she tell? Yep. She could tell. And the next thing I know it, I'm walking inside of the Target, and I'm pushing the basket, and I'm repeating my own list to me. I'm saying eggs, bread, milk. And I'm walking, and I thought, what the heck? I looked at my phone. It had been 2 hours. And I was like, what the heck just happened? It took a while. It was like
Time
like
warp?
I was barely coming to, like something was catching, like time was catching up to me.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that, to this day, I have no idea what that was. And I know it happened. I mean, I was wide awake. I was in the store. I'm not sure what that was all about. But like I said, I had so many things that happened, Travis. I don't know where to begin.
See, your life would make a really cool reality show. Just follow you around and capture all of this, and then let people watch it for themselves.
Yeah, I think some people would be a little frightened, and I don't know. I'm gonna start putting cameras in our home.
You should.
Primarily because I am. I have to, primarily because I'm gonna have caregivers here 24/7 caring for my father. So obviously I want to put that in. But whatever I capture, I'll be more than happy to share with you.
Oh, please!
Whatever the cameras capture.
Yes, we would definitely love to see that and see what's going on. Now, I have to ask this. I mean, I know because it's actually in the back of the book, and then you mentioned it yourself, that Michele herself had a few experiences when she stayed with you and visited you when you guys were putting the book together. What about other friends, your children's friends, things like that? Do other people experience a lot of this?
Oh, yeah. Okay, now you just, I'm telling you, okay. My daughter, my oldest daughter, she had a little get-together at the house. And at that time, it was her fiance. Now, of course, they're married. He had his family come over. They're very tight-knit family. So all the cousins were there. And, they were in the living room at somewhere around 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock midnight. I said goodnight to everybody. I went to my room to go sleep. I told them, continue your party. It's not a big deal. So I went to bed like about midnight, almost 1 in the morning. So I wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning. So I had to go use the restroom. I get up and I hear whispering in the living room. And I looked out and I see my son-in-law and his cousin sitting in the living room talking. And my son-in-law says, Anna, come here. You got to hear this. I'm like, what happened? And so his cousin starts telling me, okay. He's like, this is really weird, but only because weird things happen in your home. I'm not going to panic, and I know you're not going to think that I'm weird. Okay, so okay, go ahead. He says, I thought I was really tired. I fell asleep in the living room. He's like, all of a sudden, I was wide awake, and it's pitch black, and I was like, why am I wide awake? I mean, like literally wide awake. He's like, okay, that's weird. So he turned around, and he says, I went to go to fall asleep again. He's like, the next thing I know it, I'm wide awake again. So I'm laying on my back, and I'm thinking, why the heck am I wide awake? And then all of a sudden, I feel someone at the foot of the sofa. And I heard the sofa go down. I heard it crunch down, like somebody sat down. And I thought, he says, it was, my cousin trying to play a joke on me. So it didn't scare me. And then I heard a whisper in my ear saying, who are you? And I said, I'm so-and-so, I'm, his cousin. And then I'm thinking to myself, am I really talking to myself? He says, and then I hear a whisper back again saying, what are you doing here? And so he said, well, Anna gave me permission to spend the night. We had a party. And he's like, and the whole time that I'm talking, I'm thinking, what the heck is going on? he's still waiting for his cousin, my son-in-law, to come out and say, "Ha ha, got you." He's like, I'm having a full-blown conversation with this old man. He's like, I know it was an old man. I couldn't see him, but I know it was an old man. So then I thought, okay, this is weird. And he says, well, I just politely told him, okay, well, I'd like to go to sleep. He's like, and then much to my surprise, the old man whispered back, said, you need to lose weight.
Nice.
You need to lose weight. And so he started laughing. He says, yes, okay, thank you, because, he is a pretty chubby kid. So, yeah, that has happened, I don't know. Like I said, there's just so many different things that it's so hard to keep track, really. So hard.
Well, hopefully the installing the video cameras will help.
Definitely.
Oh, I'm pretty sure we're going to get a nice, a lot of stuff happening there. I mean, thank God for the most part, it's all benign. It's nothing, thank God, because we do pray a lot. I say a lot of prayers and what have you.
So, well, I was going to ask, out of all of the experiences, has anything been malevolent? Has it been evil or tried to cause harm?
No, other than my sister's home in Vegas, that has got to be the. I never want to experience that again.
Right.
Never. Other than that, in my parents' home, no, it's always been very, very protective. Mischievous at times, like they'll take keys but to like physically harm you, no. The only thing I can't explain is my daughter, my youngest daughter, for a while she was waking up with bruising on her arms and her legs. But I feel when I kind of attune myself to that, it's not ghosts, it's not entities. That is strictly extraterrestrial related.
Okay.
So no.
Well, that's good. I was, that's definitely a positive. I was just curious if because the majority of what you talk about is very benign. It's very positive for the most part. Like you said, a little mischievous maybe, but definitely not a lot of some of the stories that we've heard on this show and some of our others. So. Right.
What Bill Bean was talking about, I'm pretty sure what he meant when he said, there was disturbing or what have you, was because of what I experienced at my brother's home.
Mm-hmm.
When I saw the extraterrestrial at the foot of my bed, I could feel the bed vibrating. You could literally feel when something otherworldly, an extraterrestrial, comes into our realm. Mm-hmm. You can literally, you could feel it. It's like a certain jiggle, like a jiggling. It's not violent. It's very subtle, but you can feel it.
The disturbance in the energies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But no, as far as something being malevolent, no. I honestly don't think that they can. There's something about the lineage that we have. We have something. I feel like we have a piece of a puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
And there's other puzzles out there that need to get together in order for it to become, one whole. And yeah, as you know what, I'm going to share something with you, Travis.
Yes.
Because of my father's dementia, he had to come, stay here because they lived, for the most part, they lived in Mexico, my mom and dad.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until they started getting dementia that they had to come here and stay here now with us, so we can care for them. But during this time, some clever people over there, some guys, were trying to steal my father's property. And because we don't live in Mexico, my brothers and sisters and I, they had the upper hand. Well, it got to the point where they talked my mom into selling the property at a quarter of what it was worth, not even a quarter, less than a quarter of what it was worth. Oh. And then they had, put it this way, they had the ball in their court. I was so disturbed by that and very upset that I went back and I started to meditate again. And I said, I'm going to put all my energy, and I'm getting that property back. So, with that said, night after night after night of sitting down and going into meditation and concentrating with all my heart and soul and asking God, of course, for guidance and for assistance, I had a dream, and I saw those two guys, and that guy was holding in his hand a scroll, and I knew that scroll were the documents that belonged to our property. And in my dream, I asked the guy to let me see it, and when he gave it to me, I ran, and he ran behind me, and I woke up, and I thought, I got it. The ball is back in my court. With that said, Travis, I was able to recuperate what they were trying to steal without stepping foot. And we got it back. It took a long time. It took a lot of effort. I had only one person over there that was helping me out, because you really can't trust anybody.
Right.
And everybody, my family was saying, forget it. It's a lost cause. Leave it alone. It's not worth it. They were even those guys were threatening that if we even showed up and tried to go to court, that they would kill us. It was terrible. But long story made short, through meditation, I was able to take that was rightfully ours. That's how powerful meditation is, Travis. That is the power of that. And of course, I was being, try to live your life as good as you possibly can, and as straight and as honest as you possibly can. Yeah.
Well, Anna, thank you so much for being on the show with us tonight. We're coming down to the last few minutes of this second hour. As always, very entertaining and very educational, enlightening even, to hear you talk. Would love to have you come back on and update us periodically about what's going on with you and your family.
Sure.
As things progress. Now, if people would like to get a copy of the book, how can they reach out to you?
Oh, they can actually go on it. It sells on Amazon. You can just go to Amazon.com and type in The Martin Family, Their Secret Legacy, and you'll see the book. It's not very pricey. I think it's something like $12. It's not that expensive. But yeah, if anybody out there, if they're interested in finding out, I'd like to know. Read my book and read through the stories, and see if there's some kind of a connection there that, like I said, there's something that I wrote in that book, and I don't know myself what it is, but there's something that I wrote in that book that has sparked interest of a lot of people and has, made traction. So, yeah. Just The Martin Family, Their Secret Legacy on Amazon.com.
On Amazon. Well, Anna, thank you so much again for joining us here on Mystic Moon Cafe. And Wendy, you got any last thoughts?
Well,
any questions?
I was thinking, do you have an email or current website, that if someone wanted to get a hold of you for other interviews or questions or thoughts?
Yeah, you can.
How would they do
absolutely. That? You can actually email me, because I forgot. Michele and I had a email, but I haven't gone into it so long that you can just go into. Wow, what do I have? It's Anna Martin Safar at gmail.com. ANA Martin Safar, S as in Sam, A as in Apple, F as in Frank, AR.
Okay.
At gmail.com. Yeah, you can ask me any questions there, and I will be more than happy to answer them.
Oh, very good. Thank
Wonderful.
you so much.
Very good, and thank you.
Thank you for having me on the show.
We have enjoyed
pleasure.
it. We will definitely have you back.
Okay. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Have a good evening.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So, Wendy, what song is taking us out tonight?
Well, I thought I would do Masquerade by Wicket Gate, just because it kind of fits. It, a lot of masquerading and discoveries going on there with Anna.
Absolutely.
And that's what I have.
Sounds good. And next week, our guest is
Eric.
Wendy's
R.
one of Wendy's
Asher.
favorite authors.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, yeah, it's becoming. I do enjoy the tale. It's a really good tale.
Very
You
cool.
should read it, Travis.
I'm working on it. It is on my to-do list.
Right. But where on your to-do list?
Oh, it's there. I'll send you my to-do list. I'll send you my to-do list. You prioritize it for me. How about that? That might actually work better.
Oh, you need a personal assistant or a personal trainer
I
or
do.
something.
I do.
Okay.
I do.
I can do that. And I'll even pull my mom's persona out and Drill Sergeant Wendy. And
Drill Sergeant Wendy. I like it. That's too funny. Awesome.
Yep.
Well, thank you as always for co-hosting with me, and looking forward to being back next Wednesday night.
Yes, indeed. All right.
So, okay.
We'll
Everyone have a great week. We'll see you next week.
Night, everybody. Masquerade by Wicked Gate. No longer with us band.
These clothes just not cool enough because thought in my time between was fake and real, slowly slipping hiding how I feel. Welcome one and all to the masquerade. Take this dance in my hand as I lead the way. Roam the hall, see it all, then paint the town. This is what you want, you're really living now. Yeah, really living now. Yeah, really living now. Try to tell me that I'm fine just the way I am. I heard the lies and I spew the cries while these thoughts dance in my head. There's no escaping the reality in which I live. I'm falling short now, nothing left to give. Welcome one and all to the masquerade. Take this dance in my hand as I lead the way. Roam the hall, see it all, then paint the town. This is what you want, you're really living now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. You've been listening to Mystic Moon Cafe. Join us every Wednesday from 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. On behalf of Wendy Schindler, this is Travis Short saying have a great rest of your week.
And that's all, folks.